How to pick a bottle of wine in a supermarket. Here's the complete and super easy 6 steps guide on how to pick the right wine and don't make such common mistakes as wasting money on wine that is not worth it or even picking wine from the wrong shelf. Yes, it also may ruin your wine experience. My name is Garry and I'm a WSET3 qualified sommelier. Let's jump right into it. Okay, let's think in terms of time. How soon do you want to drink your bottle of wine? This approach may be a little bit confusing at first, but actually it makes a lot of sense. Like, each wine has its ideal serving temperature. It may vary depending on the particular style of wine, but basically it's around 10 degrees Celsius for white wines and something like 15 degrees Celsius for reds. Probably for some more full-bodied reds, even up to 18. If you drink the wine which is colder than the ideal serving temperature, you won't be able to taste all the flavors and aromas. That's why it's probably not the best idea to drink red wine straight from the fridge. And if the wine is way warmer, it will seem more acidic with more alcohol, which is not a very pleasant thing also, right? And the point here is that if you want to drink the wine just after you go home or at the party or wherever you want to bring this wine, probably you'd like to pick some wine which feels okay with warmer temperatures. The temperature in the supermarket is like about 12 degrees Celsius, I believe. I'm not quite used to Fahrenheit system, so I'll just put the equivalent somewhere here. And if you pick some champagne or just simple white wine, you'll have to chill it before drinking, like anyway. On the other hand, if you pick some full-bodied red wine, like Cabernet Sauvignon, for instance, it will be fine just at the supermarket temperature. It's very useful when you want to pick some wine, bring it home, and just drink it during supper, so that you get the wine at the right temperature just straight from the bottle with no additional chilling needed. The next tip is about buying local wines, but not always. It's a little bit tricky. Like, if you live in a wine-producing country like France, Italy, Germany, the UK produces some top-notch wines, especially sparkling wines, probably it would be wise to buy local products because of just common sense, you know? If a country produces wine, the logistics is way less complicated, so they spend less on transporting the wine. Probably local producers get tax benefits from the government, and as a consequence, a bottle of wine on the shelf costs less than an imported bottle from another country or even another continent. Actually, it's not always that simple, and there are some exceptions to this common rule. Like in the USA, a lot of producers have to rent a plot of land where they cultivate grapes. And in Napa Valley, for instance, the land costs so much that local quality wines in the US are sometimes even more pricey than imported European wines. But it's more like an exception. In Italy, you buy Italian wine. In Spain, you buy Spanish wine. In Australia, Australian, to get a little bit more quality for your money. That's the most basic rule. And the next thing I want to talk about is shameless marketing in the supermarkets that you should be aware of. You've probably heard that old story that the most expensive products are always put in the middle shelves, just on the same height as your eyes are. Well, it's not completely untrue, but it's really a simplification, because on the middle shelf, they always place the product they want to sell you faster. And these are not necessarily the most expensive ones. And the same with wines. They can put wines that are approaching the end of their shelf life on the middle shelves just because they want to get rid of them. Yes, each bottle of wine has its potential for aging and shelf life. Potential for aging is the period of time during which the wine is expected to become better. And the shelf life of wine is just the time it remains the same without deteriorating its characteristics. So, in the supermarkets, especially in bigger ones, not like 7-Eleven in the neighborhood, they usually have a sommelier in charge of the wines who makes sure that the wines are sold in optimal conditions. I don't insist that it's never an option to pick a bottle of wine from the middle shelf, but probably if you do a little bit of exercise, like a couple of squats and turn the head a little bit up, it may help a lot in choosing the best bang for your buck. And by the way, if you enjoy wine and my content about wine, consider subscribing to my free newsletter. I'll just share what wine I personally enjoy once a week, and we can get in touch like more in person, not just on YouTube. It's absolutely free, and the link is in the description below. Okay, Garry, but what about the wine labels? How should I choose the right one? Well, it's not actually that hard as it may seem. First of all, we have to decide in what climate the grapes were grown, because it gives you like 60% understanding of what the wine in your glass will be like. Learning by heart all the wine growing regions, it's for sommeliers, let's leave it to them. But all we should identify is either the climate is cool or hot. And it's not actually rocket science. Hopefully we all had geography lessons at school, so we more or less know where the countries on the globe are situated. The basic pattern is like this. Cooler places give more acidic wines with grassy, greenish aromas and low alcohol. Because to produce alcohol in wine, yeast needs sugar, and sugar is like a byproduct of sun rays hitting the grapes. And vice versa. If the climate is hot, the wine will more likely be less acidic, with more ripe fruit aromas and with more alcohol. Like, if we talk about German wines, Germany is quite far north, especially for wine growing regions. So German wines tend to be acidic with green aromas like green apple, grass, stuff like that. And for contrast, let's take Australian inlands. The part of Australia which is very dry, almost like a desert, with like one river to give water to all the plants there. We have a lot of sun, a lot of heat there, so the wine won't have a lot of acidity, but it will have a lot of alcohol. Probably even some of the aromas will burn because of that unbearable heat, right? So the point is that we try to locate where the grapes were grown, like where are we? North of France or south of France? Australia or the UK, like Canada or South Africa. And based on that, we make a decision what wine will be in the bottle. And now we've come to the most interesting part, the grape varieties, or simply the names of the grapes. Here you have to know only one thing. All grape varieties are very similar to one another. Basically, all the grapes are the same one species called Vitis vinifera, like we all humans belong to Homo sapiens species. The only difference is that some of us have black skin, some white skin, some of us are taller, some are shorter, and with grapes it's exactly the same. They have some differences, but after all, they are all grapes, as we are all humans. But if you want to dive just a little bit deeper, here are the basic patterns. For black grape varieties, it goes from the least intense to the most intense, like Pinot Noir, Merlot, Syrah, and Cabernet Sauvignon. These are the four most commonly used black grape varieties in the world. And Pinot Noir is like the most elegant. It has the thinnest aromas of red berries, not a lot of tannins. It's very subtle and gentle in most cases. When we go for Merlot, it's also fruity and juicy grape, but just like a little bit more blackberries to it in the aromas, a little bit more of tannin, like it's a bit stronger than Pinot Noir. Then we have Syrah. It's also a gorgeous grape with peppery aromas, a stronger one, also needs more sun to grow well. And on the top of everything, we have Cabernet Sauvignon, which is all about rich blackberries, tannins, full body, lots of alcohol, like this type of wine. Well, obviously I simplify things just a little bit here, but it gives a very clear picture of what we should expect from red wines. At the same time, with white wines, it's not exactly the same. There is no such pattern from the grape with thinnest aromas to the strongest one in white varieties. White grapes are divided into aromatic and non-aromatic varieties, like as simple as that. Aromatic varieties have a lot of their own aromas and flavors, like tropical fruit, like stone fruit, ripe citrus, blossom, all that kinds of things. So if you pick a bottle of wine made from one of the aromatic grape varieties, you will have more intense aromas, more charismatic, more provoking, I'd say. And on the other hand, there are non-aromatic grape varieties, which are more neutral, have more reserved aromas of like apple, probably some citrus, something like that. And it doesn't mean that these wines are worse, they're just different. So if you want something more aromatic, you can probably choose Riesling or Sauvignon Blanc or Gewürztraminer grape varieties. If you don't want to go all in on the flavors today, probably Chardonnay or Pinot Noir is what you are looking for. Now we already know how the wines from different countries vary, the grape varieties, even where to look for the right wine on the shelf of the supermarket. But the last thing we have to do is to decide on the size of the bottle. And it's way more important than some people think, because normal sized bottle is in a lot of cases not the best option to choose. And the reason for that is oxidation. Once the bottle is opened, the air contacts the wine and the wine reacts with oxygen. If it happens for a short period of time, like half an hour or even a couple of hours, it can help to open up the aromas. But if you drink one glass, put the cork into the bottle and just put it in the fridge, the oxygen will be slowly killing the wine, and in a couple of days it will totally go off. So if you don't want to drink the whole normal sized bottle, just buy a smaller bottle, like a half, or even that airplane sized bottle which contains like a little bit more than 1 glass of wine. I do so very often myself if I know that I won't be able to finish the normal sized bottle in a matter of some days. But sometimes it can be hard to find the exact wine that you're looking for in a smaller bottle, so watch this video of mine where I tell you how to preserve an open bottle of wine so it can stay fresh for a week, a month, and almost forever.